Hello everyone, welcome back to Young Adult Materials, SLIS 757. It's week 9, the week of October 21st, 2018, and our topics this week are historical fiction and series fiction. So here we go. Our learning outcomes this week. In this class, you will be able to learn about historical fiction, how to locate historical fiction, authors, and titles for young adults, and some good resources for picking out good titles. And learn about series titles for young adults and how to keep up with those, because that's a pain in the tuchus. So a little background or history on YA historical fiction. In the mid-90s, the field of YA lit was definitely expanding. The catalyst in 1996 was Scholastic's new diary series by distinguished authors, including Myers, Rinaldi, Hess, and Bruchac. If you have read any historical fiction for young adults, you've read a Rinaldi. Oh my gosh, she's everywhere. She's prolific. So the diary series include Dear America, which was definitely aimed at girls, My Name is America, which was aimed at boys, The Royal Diaries, and My America. Also, the Scott Odell Award for Historical Fiction was established in 1982, and the recipients receive a $5,000 award. Historical fiction takes readers to the past through setting, events, and characters that clearly evoke a time from at least 20 years ago. Historical fiction is rated as the least popular genre among teens, and that's from a nationwide survey of teens in Teen Read Week from 2007. I would say in my personal experience as a librarian for the past 20 years, kids do not seek out historical fiction. This is not their first choice. I will say I did a unit just this past week where kids came in and found historical fiction from the colonial or revolutionary period. I haven't had a lot of feedback from the kids yet, but several of them were surprised that they were interested just by reading the inside cover of some of the books we selected. So I think they just don't know about it and then are surprised when they like it. And as Anne Rinaldi says, she has a warning label on her books, and the warning says, "This is an historical novel. Read at your own risk. The writer feels it necessary to alert you to the fact that you might enjoy it." I am still hoping the jury is still out on the unit that I'm doing right now, but like I said, several of the kids were like, "Oh, this sounds good," when they read the inside cover. So hopefully you'll be able to sell some historical novels to the teens you work with. Certainly an increase in popularity. There is some genre fluidity in historical fiction. You can have romances. There's the Rimsey Scallop books by Temple, historical mysteries, Revolution by Donnelly, historical adventures, The True Confessions of Charlotte Doyle by Avi, and of course historical fantasies, Lightning Thief by Reardon, the Percy Jackson series. Those are also, you might call those fantasy or mythology too, so definitely cross-genre. Books that combine history with contemporary lives, Postcards from No Man's Land by Chambers, that's a World War II book, and Revolution by Donnelly, that's a French Revolution time travel book. A couple good quotes about historical fiction. According to Christopher Collier, who wrote My Brother Sam is Dead, "There is no better way to teach history than to embrace potential readers and fling them into a living past." And from Jen Hubert, "Sure, you may not know much about history, but learning it from these juicy fictional accounts is way more fun than memorizing any old, dry textbook." Some information about the Scott Odell Award for Historical Fiction. It was created by Scott Odell and Zena Sutherland in '82. It's named for Odell, who wrote The Island of the Blue Dolphins, which I read a long, long time ago. It comes with a $5,000 award. It goes annually to the author of a distinguished work of historical fiction for young people published by a U.S. publisher and set in the Americas. The advisory committee of the Bulletin of the Center of Children's Books selects this award winner. A great way to use historical fiction is to connect it to primary resources, or a great way to teach about primary resources is to connect it with historical fiction. So, if you are interested in primary resources, these are some good places to find some. You can go to the Holocaust Memorial Museum website. It's there at www.ushmm.org. My sister actually used to write curriculum for them several years ago. And they have great resources. They have lesson plans, they have videos, they have photographs. So they have things you can use if you were to teach, say, Zusak's book, The Book Thief, which is set in the Holocaust, or other Holocaust books. You could go to the Library of Congress, loc.gov, and find primary resources. You could go to the National Archives. My sister also used to work there, and she wrote curriculum for the archives. And of course, the Smithsonian, which has an amazing database. It actually has a library. It has lesson plans. It has curricular connections. So all of these sites are great ways to connect primary resources with the historical fiction that you're reading. You could browse them if you were doing a unit, or if you were teaching with a teacher who, say, like colonial era. You could go to the Library of Congress and find things having to do with the colonial era. A great selection tool for historical fiction is the book Historical Fiction for Teens, a Genre Guide. This is by Melissa Raby. I haven't heard her name pronounced. I probably butchered it, sorry. Anyway, this is getting a little bit dated. It's from 2010. There is not an updated edition that I know of. Hopefully she will update it soon. But historical fiction ages well, generally, so that if you were to purchase this to make sure that you have a good collection in your library, you can at least make sure you've got a good scaffolding or base for your collection. Right. Here are some book lists for young adult historical fiction. If you don't want to go buy the book on the previous page, there are date ranges here, obviously general, ancient, medieval, 20th and 21st century in the United States, wars and the Holocaust. These lists or these links connect to lists provided by other libraries. Some of those lists are down, I know that, but there are still some hot lists here, and there are still some effective resources, so I have left them on the slide. I am aware that some of the links further down as you click through don't work, but I still feel like there are some good lists, and some of the libraries do provide updated lists. So I've kept this here, and obviously you can use, also don't discount Goodreads or other things like that, or your book jobber. They can help you. Remember to use Booklist. In the spring of 2017, they had a top 10 historical fiction books for youth. That link is good. You can also try a 30-day free trial of Booklist. They will often review or focus on historical fiction or other genres. That's very helpful. Definitely take a peek at the spring 2017 issue, because that can help you find some good stuff that's recent. Some quotes from Janet Taylor Lyle. She's the author of Black Duck, which is a mystery set in the Prohibition era in the 20s, where two young men find a dead body, and it creates a lot of suspense and tension and danger for those young men. Anyway, her words about historical fiction: the main difficulty with writing historical fiction is the danger of historical fact pileup. You don't want to bore your readers. So she is aware of that. And she also says, one of the strange truths I came upon growing up is that the rock-solid, old-fashioned truth I was taught to admire and aspire to as a child doesn't really exist. Many of my books are woven with threads of these human dilemmas: what is right, what is wrong, and what to do when two rights collide. Right, moving on to series titles for young adults. They began with Stratemeyer in the 1900s, the $1 million fiction factory that created some of our most favorite and remembered series like The Hardy Boys and Nancy Drew. The key to their popularity is reading enjoyment. It's easy. So kids will come in and say, I want a book just like the one I just read. I had several of those requests today, in fact. Oh, do you have a book just like this? It gets tricky when I haven't read the first one that they read. But anyway, you can usually read the inside cover and go, oh, I know another book just like that. But the nice thing about series is that you're like, oh, I know another book just like that because here's the next one in the series. They have familiar characters. A lot of kids like the same characters to show up again and again. Then you don't have to do the getting to know you stage. The anticipation of reading more about the characters that they know and the continuing plot is some of what kids enjoy. They also like having the same reading level and length. It puts them in a comfort zone. They know what to expect. And I witnessed this today. In fact, I had 3 girls come in and one was like, oh, you have to read this. You have to read this. And it was about Fruits Basket. Actually, they were reading manga. However, they were excited about sharing the series with each other, with friends. The average reading level for the series fiction runs from 5th to 7th grade. It's easy reading for middle school and high school readers, particularly if you have solid readers. It's very easy reading, but it's still accessible for kids who aren't strong readers. And it is definitely escape reading. It's not too challenging. It's for entertainment and enjoyment. All right, when you're selecting series books, I can attest to this. It's overwhelming to keep up with them. I am so glad Follett came up with Update Your Series or whatever it's called. I was just doing it today and I can't remember what it's called. Anyway, Follett has a little toggle where you can say, fill in my series, and they will do it for you. They just sent me a list of everything I need to update for like $2,000. It's a little frightening. Anyway, I do this a lot. I read the first book in a series so that I know what's going on and I know what's hot among kids, and then I give up on the rest of the series unless I'm really smitten. But I do read a lot of the initial book in a series and then toss them aside and say next and go on to something else. But it's because I'm trying to keep up with what the kids are doing. I do read some book reviews and journals and check out the series lists. I also, I solicit every class. I say, if you're in the middle of a series and I don't have the next one, tell me. I am in a nice situation where I have plenty of money, but not enough time. I wish I had more time, but I have talked to librarians who don't have any money, and that stinks too. So I get about $25 per kid. My book allowance is over $20,000, so I can fill in the series. Check book list online. It has series lists for all genres and ages. The Mid-Continent Public Library in Missouri does lists of series titles that can help you. Though, honestly, if you have Follett as your book jobber, they will do it for you now. They do it. They check your series and see what's missing. It is fabulous. Also use fictfact.com. This is a site dedicated to helping you read fiction book series in order. You can easily find out which book is next with a custom list based on your favorite series. I also just tend, if I'm not informed about a series a kid is reading, I look it up on Amazon or Goodreads or other sites. I just Google and look up the series so that I know what order they go in if it's not clear from the book titles. The benefits of being a member of fictfact.com include it keeps track of the series that you are reading. You get emails when new books are published in your series. This is helpful as a librarian. And it keeps a personal list of all the next books in the series that you are reading. All right, so this is a very limited selection. There are so many popular series right now, it was hard to trim this down. So, popular fiction series for young adults. The Alex Rider Adventure series by Horowitz. The Bluford series. Good golly, if you don't have these, you need them, particularly if you have an African-American population. Cirque du Freak. I think these are kind of gross. Darren Shan grosses me out. Anyway, sorry to be judgy. I have a lot of boys that like Darren Shan, so I have them. The Click series by Harrison. I would also say, God, the kids really like those Gossip Girl books. Percy Jackson, The Lightning Thief. They're a little young for a high school. However, I still have those get checked out all the time. Princess Diaries by Meg Cabot. The Shadow Children series by I think it's Margaret Peterson Haddix is her full name. And the Warriors series by Hunt. Again, I think those are a little young for high school, but I still have some kids reading those too. So for your upcoming assignments, you have some required reading for this week, an article on Blackboard. You've got a couple textbook chapters you need to be reading. Your book versus movie assignment is due by midnight on October 25th. That's Thursday. I will have read through at least, I'm a little behind on your discussion postings. I will make sure I will get at least one set all the way through and hopefully both sets all the way through before you turn in that book versus movie assignment. And your book talk project is due by midnight on November 15th. That is your next big assignment coming up. I think that you'll have some discussion postings to do before that is due. Have a question? Send me an email. I owe somebody an email right now. I will get back to you this evening. I apologize for being a little slow. Some of you have been concerned about your class participation. I will send individual emails this week, probably on the weekend, if I'm concerned about your class participation grade. Please know that I will always give you the benefit of the doubt. If you have clicked on something, I'm going to assume that you watched it or used it. All right? So don't stress out. Do watch the videos. It gives me incredible angst to have to do these. I hope they're helpful. I feel like there's good information, but I tell you, by the time I get to the last slide, I feel like this. It's taken me 6 times to do this slide, so that's why the monkey came in. Anyway, I hope you have a good week. I hope you're doing well. I hope you're learning lots of good stuff about young adult literature and you're enjoying your books. All right, ciao.